Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. It's actually afternoon thinking about it, isn't it? It's lunchtime. Good. Happy lunchtime, everybody. Hopefully you've got a sandwich whilst you're in on our meeting today. Welcome, everybody. If I have trained any of you, then it's lovely that you're able to come in on these meetings, and it's lovely to see you. So today, as you know, we've got a short session. We're just waiting for everybody to come into the session, but we've got a short session on personal effectiveness, as you know. And we're going to be looking at some key areas that you can reflect on in this 40-minute session and hopefully go away with some ideas to create yourself some development actions. I'm just going to give a moment for lots of people to enter the meeting. Got lots of people joining now. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Okay. Okay. I've just noticed, Vicky, we've got some AI meeting notes added, joined.
I'll keep a check on those for you, no worries.
Thank you very much. So welcome, everybody. Welcome. I'm going to get started. I can see that there's still more people joining, but I'm going to get started on our session, hopefully, so you will get some useful insights from the session. I have got some slides to go through, which is going to add to your reflections. And I'm going to start actually by sharing a housekeeping slide so you can see what my plan is for the session. Your cameras and mics are off today because we are a large group, so it's not a training session. It is more of a reflective seminar for you to attend today. I will be asking you to use your reactions at various points so that I can get a feel for, and hopefully Vicky will be able to help me with numbers as well, get a feel for numbers in the group who are aware of their own strengths and some of their development areas. You might want a paper and pen handy so that you can take some notes, because I will be asking lots of questions, but also so that you can note down anything you want to follow up later. At the end of the presentation, there are links on the slide so that you can, I've given you some pointers, not many, just a few pointers of how you might do some further research or look into some of the tools that I'm going to share with you. But there's plenty of tools and free resources on all of the things I'm going to be talking about in this session. So please do investigate. YouTube is a wonderful resource. Businessballs.com is a wonderful resource, as is Mind Tools. So they're just a few of the popular ones that I use regularly. If you do have any questions, please do put your question in the chat. It's very unlikely we're going to have time to look at it today, but the team will get back to you with some of those responses. Okay, so let's start by looking at what we're going to cover in today's session. I'm hoping we have enough time to cover everything that I've put into this short presentation. So we're going to look at the impact that we have. I'm going to specifically look at the behaviours that we demonstrate when we're thinking about personal effectiveness and thinking about the impact that that has on our colleagues as well as on ourselves. I'm going to show you, I'm going to break down emotional intelligence. I'm going to look at Dan Goleman's model. If you've heard of Dan Goleman, I'm going to break down his model and again, get you to think about where your strengths are, where your development areas are, and thinking about what that means for your own work and personal relationships. I'm going to show another tool. This is a whistle-stop tool this morning of different tools. I'm going to show you the social styles communication preference tool. For those of you who I've trained, you'll know I love this tool. It's one of my favorites and it's so useful. It's so insightful. There are many books on it. There's a website link at the end where you can find out more. It's really simple and it's relevant, and it's easy for us to interpret as well and to recognize our own preferences. There's no right or wrong in it. It's just about preferences, and it helps us to understand people better and improve how we get cooperation from other people as well. And then the third tool I'm going to show you this morning is our learning style preferences. I'm going to show you one of the most popular models. Going to ask you to reflect and think about what your strengths and preferences are and how that can help you to share information with other people at work. And finally, just give you a summary of all the tools that's going to help you to be more assertive, to improve your communication, to think about how you can manage your own emotional intelligence. So those are our main learning points for today, for our 40-minute session. Welcome all those who are still entering the room. It's lovely that you're all able to attend. Okay, so first thing, you might want to note these down, or you might want to screenshot this slide so that you can think about it. When I show you the tools, I want you to consider, what do you think or feel about this tool? Maybe you know something about it already, and that's fine. Maybe there's something new that you've learned from the tool that I'm showing you. And then think about what you're going to do with it. What are you going to do differently next time with this tool? Maybe there's something you've learned about yourself. Maybe there's something you're going to plan to do with it. So maybe you're going to look into it more, or maybe you're going to think about, okay, how can I use this in a meeting? How can I use this with some of my one-to-ones? How can I use this for myself? So do think about each of these different sections in turn and think about, how is this going to help you? How is this going to help you to develop? So this session is about personal awareness, as you know. So I'm going to start off by sharing some definitions of self-awareness and some elements, some key elements that help us with self-awareness. So first of all, we need to recognise that it's important for most of us, if not all of us, to be our best authentic self at work. We want to progress, we want to fulfil our potential, we want to be seen to be genuine and authentic and considerate. So we need to be aware of when we come across as our best self and how we can enhance that further, and how we can also build our relationships with others so we get a greater understanding of where other people are coming from, what their approaches are. So self-awareness is all about that recognition of, what does my best self look like? How can I foster that? How can I enhance that? And how can I get the best out of others as well? So that's what we're going to look at. We're going to look a little bit about our thought processes, the way we work. We're going to, as I've already said to you, just to emphasize that again, we're going to look at, or I'm going to get you to reflect on your strengths and also identify some development if you want to identify some development, and have a greater understanding of yourself and other people as well. How can you get the best from other people that you work with? So here's some elements for you to think about when it comes to self-awareness. These are some definitions. Why do you do things in a certain way? Why do you do things in a certain way? So if you've got pen and paper, maybe start having a little note. Why do you do certain things in a certain way? Whether it's completing a task, whether it's making a request of somebody, whether it's preparing for a meeting or not. Why do you do certain things in a certain way? And then are there certain activities that you feel really natural at? They come really easily for you, yet other tasks you struggle with. Like, for instance, you find it really easy to attend meetings, to contribute in meetings, but maybe you struggle with the preparation for the meeting, for reading all that paperwork beforehand, as an example, or the other way around. What about things that you look forward to doing? What are those tasks or elements of your role that you really enjoy, that you look forward to, that you probably delay doing other things so that you can do those things that you look forward to, but then other things you actively avoid? What is it about those tasks that means you actively avoid those? What can you learn about that? And how can you manage yourself better to make sure that you do attack those tasks that you normally avoid? Reactions are one of the areas that we're going to cover in a bit more detail when we look at emotional intelligence in a bit, but reactions to situations or events and people. I haven't put people on that third one from the bottom. React to various situations, events or people. Why? Why is that? What is it about that situation or that particular event or that person that makes you react in a way? And it could be a happy reaction, but mostly I'm thinking the reactions where we're slightly impatient or irritated or find it stressful. And one of the tools we're going to be looking at later, the social styles one, is going to help us to work out why with some people we work better with them than others. So that will help us to consider what is it about that person or those people that make it easier to have a conversation, make it easier to work together and collaborate. And why is it difficult with other people? And then the final element about self-awareness that we're going to look at today is thinking about what influences you to feel motivated or demotivated about a task or situation. So again, I'm going to show you some motivation theory and help you to analyze what is it about things that help to motivate me or demotivate me. And again, thinking about the emotional intelligence linking. What can I do to develop that? What can I do to change that? Is it about changing my mindset? Is it about changing the way I feel about that task or situation? What can I do about it? So those are some key elements. And one of the key areas to help you to know yourself better is to get feedback from others. So before I show you some different elements that you can ask about for feedback, I want you to think about, who do you already ask for feedback about how you approach things? How do you know how well you do, how you're performing, how you do specific things? How do you know what things other people realize you're struggling with, or what strengths do other people see in you? That's probably a really important one, actually. How do you find out what strengths you have that other people know about you? Because other people can be a useful way to find out what you enjoy, even though you'll know some things, but other people can see what irritates you. What do you enjoy about some of the tasks that you do? What are some of those key motivators that help you to do certain things? So where do you get that feedback from? So I'm now going to show you some examples of feedback that you could ask for. So, and who are those trusted individuals? That's another good question. Who are those trusted individuals that you could get feedback from? Are they colleagues who you work with in a team? Are they colleagues that work in another team because maybe you do some cross-team working or liaise with others regularly? Where could you get that feedback from other than the obvious one, which is your line manager? Who are those trusted colleagues who you could approach for feedback? So think about who you could ask to get some information about strengths, skills and abilities. Again, there's some fabulous online questionnaires that you can use to ask them about specific skills, abilities and strengths that you have, maybe strengths and characteristics rather than just tasks that you're completing, thinking about characteristics of how you approach things. What about the way you do work on tasks and the way that you work with others, the way that you cooperate with them? Who could you ask that who would give you an honest view of how you work with them? Another element of feedback could be about how you contribute to the team or to a project that you're working on, that you work on fairly regularly. And what about things that you need to work on, or things that you ought to start doing? Maybe some things that you've been avoiding that you need to start or challenge yourself to do, or maybe something that your manager might even have an idea that is a potential new thing for you to stretch you a bit, to help your motivation, to make you feel more value, to make you feel more like you're developing, that you are challenging yourself in that role, that you're going to create something new and learn something new and expand your knowledge of something new. And the last element of feedback I asked you about is get you to think about what types of questions you have about those 4 elements above to get that deeper understanding of your feedback. So think about, what do you want to know? What do you need to ask people? Maybe give yourself a little Microsoft form, or ask people by email, or in meetings, one-to-one, face-to-face. It's up to you. But there are various methods that you can go about getting that feedback for yourself and find out those questions, the answers to those questions. Okay, moving on from feedback then, I'm going to start looking at that first tool, which is emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence, we all know, we've heard this term, I am sure. But we're going to look at it in a bit more detail now. One thing I want to get really clear, though, first of all, is how it's different to IQ, or intelligence quotient. So I want to really get this definition clear. Now, ordinarily, I'd ask you to tell me, but I appreciate that that's not, we haven't got the time to be able to discuss this with this size of group, what the differences are. So I'm just going to give you a very, very brief definition. Most of you will know, I am sure, and I'm telling you already things you know, which is that IQ, or intelligence quotient, is about how you measure cognitive abilities, how you use reasoning, how you use logic, how you solve problems, or how you recall information. How do you remember things in the short term, the medium term, and the long term? So that's IQ. Whereas EQ or EI, so either emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, as you can see on the slide, is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions, and recognize and understand and influence the emotions of others. And as you can see on the slide here, it was originally investigated and theorized and model produced by Peter Salovey and John Mayer. And they created the original research around this. And then Dan Goleman, who is more well known because he has done a lot of high profile research and leaders, and he has also developed lots of books. So Dan Goleman then recategorized some of those elements and created the internal elements of emotional intelligence in ourselves, and then the external demonstration or manifestation of emotional intelligence, which is about our behavior, how our behavior impacts people, which is why this session is about personal effectiveness. How can I be more aware and knowledgeable about the impact I am having, positively and negatively, especially when we're under pressure? So it's about thinking, how can I manage both those internal aspects and also therefore resulting in a positive management of those external aspects of my emotions. So they are very different, but they are also linked. EI and EQ can go hand in hand. Unlike when I first started managing in the 1990s, when I remember distinctly being told we need to make sure our emotions don't influence our decisions. But now, fortunately, it's much more positive, and we are encouraged to foster our emotional thoughts, because they can aid and make much more powerful, much more valid decision making. Okay, so here is an image to show you those elements of the emotional intelligence model, and we're going to look at these 4 sections going forward. So I've told you about the internal aspects and the external aspects. So this slide also gives you an image to show that. So your personal competence is the internal aspects of emotional intelligence that I was talking about. It's about that self-awareness that we've just looked at a few slides about, haven't we? About self-awareness and why it's so important, and recognizing in ourselves our reactions and responses to certain things, but also that self-management, which is quite tricky. How do we self-manage when we are having a reaction, or before we have a reaction, even better? So we're going to look at a breakdown of those 2 elements. And then the external aspects of emotional intelligence are the social competence quotients. So that's our social awareness, our ability to understand what other people are feeling and thinking. And then also that relationship management. So how do we build relationships with people? How do we build that trust? How do we ensure that we are fostering an environment for cooperative relationships? How do we get the best out of people? So those are the internal and external elements of the emotional quotients that I was talking about earlier. So let's get started on those questions. I hope you're ready. So the first element of that internal self-awareness, that internal recognition of how I am feeling and what motivates me, and this links directly to that slide that I showed you with the elements of self-awareness, is understanding our motivators. Now, I don't know if you've seen these 2 models before. There are multiple models and theories for motivation. Please do have a look at some of them. These are probably these 2 are the most popular and tend to be present in all of the courses that I deliver for Lighthouse, and so that's why I'm sharing them today. So first of all, I'm going to cover Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I know if you work in the NHS, you use this regularly in your development, in your personal development. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I apologise if you already know this and you know it really, really well, but if you've recognised it and you could do with a refresh, I'm just about to help you with that. So first of all, you have these 5 levels. So you've got that physiological level, first of all, which is that I need to have that that food, I need to have warmth, I need to make sure that I know where my resources are. Then you've got that safety element. I want to make sure that I'm in a place where I've got a roof over my head, or I've got somewhere safe that I can go to, or I've got somewhere safe at work. Like I know that my equipment is safe. I know that I've got somewhere nice to go for my lunch, for example. Then that social aspect is that sense of belonging, that team cohesion, and that's a big motivator for most people. Is how do I get on with my team? How can I get cooperation from them? How can I help them? How can they support me? And that links to the next one, which is self-esteem. So once we feel reassured, once we feel more able, more confident in what we're doing and in the people around us, we can then stretch ourselves. We can do more. We can develop. And that leads to the fifth stage, which is that self-actualization, which means I can then fulfill my potential, which is be the best that I can be in the task that I'm doing. It could be that I want to be able to progress. I want to become more responsible. I want to have more seniority. I want to be a manager. I want to have the next manager's job. So that self-actualization could be small things, or it could be big things. And that's in life as well. It does not just at work. So it could be that I want to have this type of holiday, or I want to achieve this sort of thing outside of work. I want to spend more time with my family, or I want to spend more time doing walks or having hobbies. So that self-actualization is about self-improvement. It's about fulfilling our potential, being our best self, and enhancing what it means to be the best version of me, essentially. But it doesn't have to be big things. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. It can be those small things, small wins that make you feel satisfied and feel like, yes, I'm achieving the things that I want to achieve. There's a lot of research around gratitude, isn't there? And it is about recognizing the small things that make you happy. And by learning how to recognize those small things that make you happy, it creates that bigger sense of satisfaction with life and with how you're achieving. So those small things are so, so important. So that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I will just point out that the original research that Maslow invented, so to speak, he said that you need to move through each level one at a time in order to reach self-actualization. And I will just point out that modern psychologists, today's psychologists, recognize that actually you can be in several levels at the same time. So you might be going through a house move, for example, which we know is very, very stressful, or you might have lost your home. And that does not mean that you will sacrifice your social aspects or your self-esteem. Whereas, yes, so in fact, I would say that you probably want to rely more on those elements, the safety, the social and the esteem elements, to be able to continue what you're doing in other aspects of your life. Just because one area is not quite where it should be does not mean that will stop you from being your best self and being your authentic self elsewhere, either at work or in life. So I just want to make that clear. You could be working at several of those levels at the same time. Now I want to move on to McLennan's motivation theory. McLennan came up with the three overlapping circles, if you like, because we are a blend of these three. What needs do we have at work that helps to make us feel motivated? So you've got the need for power. So this, and whilst the word power sometimes can be a bit off-putting, it actually means I want to have a bit of influence. I want to have a bit of seniority. I want to have a little bit of recognition of my experience or my knowledge. So it's not necessarily power, but although it can be power and have control over certain situations like decisions, or be a manager of a team, but it is about understanding, actually, I like to know what I need to know to be able to make good decisions, to be able to create a plan to move forward, and also to have the authority to be able to manage a team. The need for affiliation is that belonging again. So that links to that social aspect of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So I like to be within a team. And we're a blend. I will emphasize that we're a blend of all three here. So yes, it's about recognizing that we work best when we cooperate with others, when we collaborate, and we like to share that responsibility and that cooperation. And then the third one is that need for achievements. This is very goal-centered. This is a results-driven person. That this person likes to set themselves targets as well as maybe set team targets or have their own PDP or individual targets, but they'll have that sense of achievement. They'll be the one ticking things off. They'll be the one saying, yes, I'm achieving these things. These are the things that make me feel satisfied. So take a moment just to think about where are your motivation levels on the hierarchy of needs and the motivation theory. And there will be multiple, and that's fine. You don't have to just choose one, but think about where you most feel your motivators are on these two theories. Okay, I'm now going to move on to breaking down the 4 elements of the emotional intelligence model. So we're going to start with the personal competence quotient element, the emotional element. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and then I'm going to ask you to either raise a hand or send a reaction when you realize this is a strength area for you. So if you can see that you've got 5 out of 7 of these areas are a strength for you, then this is a strength. 5 of the 7 areas is strength, and then put your hand up to say, yes, I know that this is strength for me. So personal competence then, how well do you know yourself? My feelings are clear to me. I know when my moods impact people around me. I readily tell others my feelings when appropriate. I can easily sense when I'm going to be angry. I know what type of external event affects my mood. Excellent, lots of hands going up. I'm able to stand apart from my thoughts and feelings. So I am able to analyze separately my thoughts and feelings and recognize and compartmentalize. I know when I'm being unreasonable. That's a hard one to admit to, isn't it? I know when I'm being unreasonable. Is this a strength there? We've got lots of hands going up. Excellent. How many have we got going up? Loads. Fantastic. Oh, lots of thumbs up as well. Excellent, excellent. That's good. Marvelous, marvelous. Okay, so thank you everybody for sharing. That's your strength area. There will be a blend across all 4 of these quotients, and that's good. And you might have strengths in all of them, which is fantastic. I'm going to share at the end a tool that will help you to find a questionnaire so that you can actually get a bit more detail. That you can get lots of questionnaires on the internet anyway. And it gives you a more accurate view of these 4 areas and particularly where you can develop. Okay, so the second area is our self-management. So again, hands up and reactions. If you've got 5 out of 7 of these, this is a strength area for you. So how well do you manage your emotions when in challenging situations? Can you balance your own needs and drive with that of your department and organization? Can you accept responsibility for your reactions? Do you find it easy to make goals and stick to them? Do you know what you want to achieve? You're emotionally balanced. You seek feedback and can accept criticism. That's a challenge as well, isn't it? Accepting criticism, particularly if people don't know how to deliver criticism, or constructive feedback is a better word, without getting angry. So you seek feedback and can accept criticism without getting angry because you know it's going to benefit you, and you can maintain your composure in stressful times. Lots of hands again. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Great. I think we might even have even more hands this time than we did last time. Fabulous, fabulous. Okay, third area. This is now our external. So we've looked at the internal elements. We're now looking at the external competence areas. So first of all, social competence. How well do you understand what others are feeling? Do you consider the impact of your decisions on others? Can you tell if people around you are getting annoyed? Can you read them and recognize that annoyance in them, even if it's quite well hidden? I'm generally able to understand how other people feel. Can you sense when someone's mood changes? Do you usually know when to speak and when to be silent to certain individuals? Good. Lots of hands going up. Fantastic. I understand when people's plans and goals change, and you understand why. That's the important factor, actually. You're understanding when they do change. You don't get irritated. You can understand. You can understand why your actions sometimes offend people, and you're able to see things from another person's viewpoint or perspective. Good. Lots of hands again. Fantastic. This is a strength area for a lot of you. Great. So this is about showing empathy. This is about seeing things from other people's point of view and perspective, and realizing that we can positively attribute. We understand that they have a positive motive. They have a positive approach to things, and we see that positive intent. Yeah, hopefully, Tracy, you're quite right. And the last social competence area, the last external manifestation of our ability to manage emotional intelligence in our relationships, is how easy do I find making and managing strong relationships? Are you good at motivating others? Can people trust and depend on you? Are you good at reconciling differences with others? Are you a peacemaker? Are you able to manage disagreements? Do you ask good questions, curious questions to find out what's important to people? Are you a good listener? And make sure you don't interrupt. And that's hard. That's hard. But good listener, being able to zip it. And do you generally build solid relationships with people you work with? Do you work with people who seem difficult or see working? Sorry, I said that wrong. Do you see working with people who seem difficult as a challenge to understand them better? Because, of course, our perception of difficult is an inaccurate perception, isn't it? Often it's just that they think things differently to us, and we need to understand what's going on for them. Excellent. Lots of hands again. Really pleased to see that. Great. Great, great, great. Okay, so those are the 4 areas of the emotional quotient element theory. And now I'm going to just share this slide quickly to get you to think and consider, what is it about what you do that's positive? What is it about what you do that could potentially be seen as negative, or sometimes you come across negatively, probably not intentionally, if I'm honest, but you maybe are a bit stressed or a little bit irritated. What effect does your behavior have on your colleagues and on your team and on your manager? What are the thoughts and beliefs and experiences that influence my behavior? That's a really, really challenging question and a robust question. It helps you to really think through what is going on in my mind that is influencing my behavior here. How do you think others see you or judge me? That links back to the feedback slide that I showed you earlier. What about how can you adapt your approach depending what the other person needs from me? And I'm going to show you the social styles model in a minute that'll help with that. Can you be understanding and supportive as well as guide and be purposeful? That's a really difficult balance, because some of us are really, I can hold my hands up. I like to be purposeful. I like to be results oriented. And I need to make sure I balance that understanding and supportiveness in my nature, because I know I will head long straight into goal focus before I will head into supportive focus. So I get that balance is really tricky. Do I have a positive or negative approach? Do people think I'm a problem focused person or a solution focused person? Do I enthuse and engage people? Or do I occasionally cause discomfort or stress even? So does my stress, is that contagious sometimes? And then it makes my team stressed, as an example. How can I manage that? What strategies can I put in place to make sure I don't infuse my team with the stress that I am feeling or the irritability? And then thinking about fairness and consistency. Do I let my emotions take control? And sometimes we need to. We're only human. We make mistakes, and sometimes it's okay, and we accept our emotions are there. They're telling us something quite often. But am I fair and consistent? Have I got strategies to help myself manage my emotions rather than and avoid taking it out on people? Okay, let's move on. Next tool I'm going to show you then is VARK learning styles. Hopefully loads of you already have seen this, and that you've hopefully already, as part of your training, have completed your VARK learning styles or your VAC learning styles: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, or visual, auditory, read, write, and kinesthetic. Again, I've got some questions for you, so I'm going to ask for hands up in a minute. Visual learners, just as a reminder for those of you who have done it before, but also to give you a bit of detail for those where this is the first time that you found it or heard about it. Visual learners, and again, we're a blend. I keep saying that, don't I? We are a blend of these. We might actually have a preference for all 3, and that's good. That's good. But a lot of us will have a stronger preference for one of them over the others. So you might use the others as a backup, but you probably have a stronger one of the 3. So visual learners have words written down. They like pictures, timelines, flowcharts. They like taking notes. They like handouts. They like slides. They like videos. So my questions are, do you prefer visuals, pictures, or images? Let's see how many hands go up for this. Do you prefer watching a video clip or use screenshots? Do you like diagrams, charts, and mind maps? Do you like taking notes, have lists? Do you like colour? I love colour. If you answered yes to most of these, you've got a strong preference. Oh, wow, loads. Oh, my gosh, look at the numbers. Fantastic. In the 20s. I imagine there's more, because actually The various universities have done lots of studies on learning styles and recognise that 80% of the population are highly visual learners. So I was expecting maybe a few more hands than that. But still, a good proportion of the group recognise that. Next one, auditory learners. Now, anecdotally from me, I would say that this is the, yes, absolutely, Chandra. Absolutely right. Auditory learners, in my experience, from all the training that I've done over the last 20 years, I think this is the learning preference less preferred in people. It's a backup, it's a useful one, it's one that we use a lot. For instance, today, I'm doing an awful lot of telling. It's not my natural style. My natural style is discussion. But today we're doing a lot of telling. So auditory learners, this is great. A presentation where I'm doing most of the talking is great for auditory learners. But in order to make it more accessible to other learning preferences, do add those stories and anecdotes, have discussions, and have auditory learners, videos with auditory learners also like to talk about problems and talk about solutions. So questions, do you prefer to listen to someone explain or to a video of instructions? Do you prefer to discuss? Do you prefer to speak out loud? Do you like to ask questions and repeat back information? And do you like to use mnemonics to remember facts and steps? Mnemonics being where you put the word down the side of a page and then you give yourself a little definition for each. Lots of hands here, good. Not quite so many as visual, but I was expecting that. I don't, anecdotally, I have no research to back this up, but I do think that I see a far lower preference for auditory learning. Great. Okay, no, we've got good response there. Fantastic. Last one then. I feel like I'm having to rush a little bit because I'm realizing the time is moving on. The kinesthetic one, again, lots of people kinesthetic. The active learner. This is the person that likes to do something. They learn by doing. They have a go. They don't want to be shown. They don't want explanation. Don't like instructions. Get those instructions away from me. I want to have a go. I'm hands-on. I like movement. I like to have a practice, a role play, an exercise. So my questions are, do you prefer hands-on experience? Do you like to have a go at that task quickly? Do you try and discover rather than read instructions? Do you prefer to draw instructions rather than write? Do you prefer computer-based learning to being instructed? Do you prefer to try a task out whilst watching a video? Lots there, lots and lots. How many have we got? I can't see a number now. It was telling me a number earlier. Mixable, yes. And that's what most of us should find, is that we're a mix of all, but you might have one or two higher. So you might think, yes, absolutely, I do auditory, I do listen, I'm good at listening, and I'm also quite active, but my preferred one is visual. I much prefer something shown, I much prefer something I can see. I much prefer following a guide or a flow chart or an SOP and then do. So you should be a combination, but some of us prefer one or two over all three. Thank you, everybody. Okay. That was really interesting to see that blend there. I've done that. So social styles then. The last tool I'm going to show you, social styles. And again, hopefully lots of people have seen this already, either in some of the training that we've delivered at Lighthouse, or maybe you already know it. The social styles element is, or the social styles tool, I should say, is, where's my notes? Just get this right. It is quite old personality trait or personality preference research. Having said that, it is still the basis. So it was originally put together by Jung. We all know Jung, so quite old, but lots of research that he did and subsequently psychologists after Jung have done a lot of work and have changed it to look like different things now. So if you've heard of DISC, if you've heard of MBTI, if you've heard of insights, if you've heard of colours, if you've done anything on animal questionnaires, and I know that sounds daft, but there are quite a few different and joyful animal questionnaires out there. It will be based on social styles. And again, we're a blend of all four elements, but we are likely to be have a stronger preference for two. There's no right or wrong. This is about understanding how people process information and how we respond emotionally and how we request for information. So that assertiveness style is, are we more passive? Are we more ask assertive, or are we more tell assertive? Are we better at controlling our emotion and not showing other people how we feel or think? Or do we display emotions so people know actually how we feel, which is links to my question earlier about with the analytical side of things, for example, they show very little emotion. You know your staff, if they're highly analytical, you know that even when they go quiet, you know how they're feeling because you know them. So that makes a difference. For people who show little emotion, you have to know them well to be able to understand how they're feeling and what they're thinking. So I've got some words on the slide here about the key elements of social styles, and it helps us to be better at understanding where other people are coming from. And sorry, I was distracted there by a comment. I can only see part of it. Where was I at? Oh, silly me, getting distracted. So we want to think about this in terms of, well, how can it help us to understand where other people are coming from, what approach they use, what their preferences are. There's no right or wrong with this. This is about recognizing how are we processing information, what kind of information do we need, and how can I adapt to other people to make that working relationship improved. So you've got your analytical person who likes to know that they are right, they have the knowledge, they have the information, they like to think things through, and they don't like pressure. You've got they like information, they like patience. You've got your amiable personality type or your personality preference. Those traits are about safety. Trust is really valuable to someone who is high amiable. They value relationships and they value trust. They, again, don't like pressure. They like to be understood. They like to be considered. They are very thoughtful and they are very considerate. So they like it in return. Then you've got your driver, which is high tell. And again, doesn't show emotion, doesn't tend to show emotion. They are very headstrong. They are fast-paced people. They are goal-centered people. They like action. They like a plan. They go for it. They do it. But their weakness is listening. They're not very good at slowing down to hear and get input from others. And then the expressive type is about needing other people, energy. They like to be with other people. They like people to approve of what they're doing and saying and thinking. They love in the moment opportunities. They're spontaneous. They are original. They like to be creative. They like to swap things around and work on multiple things at the same time. And they are high energy, but their potential weakness is impulsiveness and being distracted and not focusing their efforts in the right place at the right time. So that gives you a little bit of a snapshot of the social styles tool. And just don't think about your own preferences, yes, but also think about the people that you work with. Where are they coming from? What are their preferences in terms of processing information, how much information they want? How can you, in a meeting, if you're a high driver and need very little information to make decisions, how can you support or help that person who is high analytical in your meeting, who needs lots of information? How can you help be patient with them to get the information they need so that you can make decisions as a group? And likewise with the amiable and expressive, the amiable and expressive like big picture. They like to know where things are going and how it's going to benefit them. How can you change that information so they feel engaged, so they feel part of the process? Okay, we don't have much time left. I'm going to whiz through the next two slides just to give you a bit more information. This is a very, very tiny taster. This is what is important relationship-wise to these four. Okay, analyticals is about credibility and delivering what they promise. Amiables, it's about trust and being accepting. Drivers is about respect and sincerity. And expressiveness is about sociability and openness. And irritators and conflicts, and hopefully this will really relate to a number of you. If you're high analytical, you don't like surprises. You don't like unpredictability. You don't like a lack of information. If you're high amiable, you don't like insensitivity and impatience. If you're high driver, you don't like inefficiency and indecision. And if you're high expressive, you don't like getting bored and you don't like routine and detail. And I'm going to add detail. So again, think about where you are and also where other people might be. Now, we're nearly finished, so I'm not going to do a quick poll. You don't have time. I added this one in. I don't think we've really got time to discuss it, but because we're talking about assertiveness, in and that either less assertive or more assertive. I wanted to show you this little image about a spectrum of assertiveness. In the middle, it's about being that adult mode and using your maturity and listening skills. Whereas if we don't focus on those positive communication skills and cooperative skills, we can end up either going towards aggressive if we become controlling and domineering, or passive if we become avoidant. So just a little some pointers there to help you with assertiveness. Now, tools, this is the important one. I'm sure that Vicky is going to share the slides afterwards. I think I saw that question earlier. So you'll be able to get these, but if not, I've already mentioned these. The businessballs.com website is fantastic as a resource. I'm sure loads of you know that already. Mind Tools is also really useful, and you can get the short MBTI version questionnaire on 16personalities.com. But likewise, you can get the social styles questionnaire, which is really, really helpful. So please do look up these tools. And in summary, look at those tools for self-knowledge and self-growth, get that feedback, recognize your strengths and your own emotions and the impact that you're having. Think about what approaches you're using in different situations, using your VAC and your social styles. Think about other people's feelings and how to respond, and think about how to adapt your skills with those different tools that I've shown you. And I always threw those last few. I knew I'd had a bit too many to share. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope that was useful. I hope that it was enlightening for those that have never seen those tools before. And I hope that it was a good refresher for those of you who have seen them in our training sessions before. Thank you, everybody. If you have got any questions, I'm sure that Vicky has taken note of them. And thank you for attending. It was wonderful to see so many of you. Fabulous. You're very welcome. I hope that was useful, and I hope you've got some good insight. Thank you. Thank you, Beverly. Glad that was useful. Thank you for all your hands up as well. Makes a difference for me because then I know you're there.